Wait, that...
I didn't do it right, chat.
Hello, fellow youths.
It's a party up in here.
Today we're trying to reach out and connect with our younger viewership.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what the disco balls represent.
They're disco goggles.
Disco goggles?
Disco goggles.
Do you wear those to the disco?
Anytime. Disco goggles are everyday wear.
Like, if you wear those outside, will it blind you and everyone around you as they dangle around and, like,
Probably.
shoot laser beams into people's eyes?
Yes. It's a disco wherever I go. That's the point. So I'm always taking him to the disco.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Lord Killington, a fly guy. That's why I'm wearing my hat like this. He's a fly guy. Get it?
Cool fella.
You get it? You get it? Am I resonating with the youth?
He's a fly guy.
I feel like I've probably lost touch with the fact of what even youth means anymore.
What youth means? What does youth mean to you?
I mean, I get $1 off at Denny's, so what do I know? I can eat from the menu that's on the back of the menu.
Yeah.
It's cheaper for the same amount of food. Or it's less food for the same amount because they know they can pull one over on you.
You think that Christopher and I shenanigans are crazy? Just wait till we hire our first Gen Alpha employee. You're going to go, what is happening?
A what?
Gen Alpha?
There is no Gen Alpha. You don't get to call yourself Gen Alpha because, what, it came back around to you?
That's not me. I'm not
No.
saying it's me. That's
No.
what they're calling them.
No.
That's what they're calling them.
You don't get to be Gen Alpha just because you ran out of names.
That's what they're saying.
So you get to say you're the beginning again? Nah. Incorrect. Heck with kids. Get off my lawn.
Staying alive, staying alive.
Get off my lawn. Mo, what's happening, man?
You know,
Disco goggles.
I need to make sure the air got turned down.
Greetings. What's up, Thumb Palette? Psh, kids these days think they know it all. Haven't they always think they've thought they've thunk that they've think they did all? What's going on, everybody? Yeah, exactly, Ghost Hunter. Get off my lawn! Old man yells at clouds. That was a good sentence. I can speak good. The longer the day goes, the gooder my speak gets. Why use big word when little word work?
When few words.
Thumb Palette says, I'm fairly sure I thought I knew it all as a teen. Gen lame, more like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got him.
What? I don't know what that is. What is that? What? That's like a fishing pole, and what was that?
Oh, that's Sarcastic Grandpa did that, and it's it looks like it's a, because on this screen, here, I'll show you. See it dancing? Danger dance. They're like lasers.
Oh, it looks like a fishing pole where it's stuck on the other one, right?
Yeah.
What a peaceful, Chrisless stream.
I know. Where you been, little Billy?
Little Billy,
You were here on Thursday.
did you decide that your arch nemesis was taking a break, so you would decide to take a break too?
Yeah.
Have you missed all of this? Busy? How busy do you have to be to realize that your solace was offered to you with Chris in absence for the past 2 streams?
It's true.
Get on the camera, Gabe. I'm here to paint.
All
I'm here to
right.
paint, Gabe.
What are
I'm
we
not
painting?
here to goof around. I'm here to paint.
What are we painting?
We're painting this guy.
That guy.
This guy.
That guy looks like yesterday's guy.
It's the same guy.
The same guy.
That's why it looks like the same guy, because it's the same guy.
Because it is the same guy.
Correct. It's Gabe. It's the same guy.
Oh. The same guy?
I feel like this is the same guy, Gabe,
It might be.
as the other guy.
How do you know?
They were either that or I painted a new version of him. That could also be true, but it isn't. So
True but not true?
it's not true, Gabe.
Put these disco balls back on Christopher's little Christmas tree.
You know what time it is? It is time
Time for us to go to lunch.
Black Brown. But time for us to go to lunch.
Time for us to go to lunch.
It's 2 o'clock. Who eats lunch at 2?
Sometimes I do.
Don't say you. That's not how it works. You ate lunch at noon or whatever it was, just like a good human should. Eat lunch at lunchtime, and lunchtime is when noon comes.
Lunchtime could be any time.
Incorrect.
As long as you had dinner afterwards.
Incorrect.
What if I woke up at 1 in the afternoon and I had
then
breakfast?
You missed lunch.
I had breakfast.
You lazy bastard.
And then I eat lunch at 5 and I ate dinner at midnight.
You don't get to do that. This is not a free place. You don't. This is not how freedom works.
Who dictated when breakfast starts?
Nothing in the definition of freedom says you can eat lunch whenever you want.
Right?
That's
what I'm saying.
Works.
Travel Cedric, when you work the night shift, midnight could be lunchtime.
Incorrect. It's just dinner. You wake up and you have dinner.
You have 3 dinners and then you go to bed.
You know, it's interesting reading the studies of late shift workers and all the health problems they have, because there is a very real consequence to having your body be active outside of the normal lunar cycles, believe it or not.
Interesting.
Yeah, the gravitational effects and the way that the lunar cycles work have a big problem. Now, people's bodies can eventually get used to it, but it can create tremendous health problems because it's been shown that your body reconstitutes its lost cells and cell structure, especially for things like your liver, at close to, you'd have to go look all this up on your own, but it's like from like 1 to 3 a.m., right? And it has to do with lunar proximity and things like that, you know, like tidal structures and all that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
So it's not like people who work the late shift just get to, I'll just get used to it.
Charles Cedric said Jason is correct.
You run the risk of cellular structure not reinvigorating itself like normal, which can obviously be bad.
Because you're awake rather than sleeping.
Your body is still burning fuel at that time when it's thinking that it should be rebuilding itself. Yeah.
Huh.
Now, the body's a pretty good engine, so it probably tries to do it at other times, but I think you lose efficiency.
Yeah.
It's all interesting. This is all stuff that my sister, before she passed away, was studying as a naturopath.
That's super interesting.
I love stuff like that.
Science!
Oh, I guess we could paint the little turd cake.
You gonna paint turd cakes today?
With black brown, too. Well, I'm basing his skin with black brown. Lucas did the fly as more of a bluish black. But because the armor has such a good blue tinge to it, I'm trying to, do other colors. So I'm going with a black-brown base, and then we will do blacks and other coloring into the skin this way. We could maybe do a little green. I don't know. I don't have a plan, chat. I know. Comes as a surprise. Who would have thunk that Jason doesn't know what he's doing? I think one of the things that is the most do as I say, not as I do parts of my hobby teaching is that you probably should have at least a little bit more of a plan. But then I can't really say that, right? Because you can still turn out pretty awesome stuff without a plan at all. I just never know which side to vote for. How are you today, Gabe?
I'm great.
You have disco balls on your glasses. Is there a real reason for this, or is this just you acting out?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, sorry.
I don't have disco balls in my glasses.
What happened? He had disco balls a minute ago. I know you guys saw them.
Magic.
I know you saw them.
Magic.
All right, I am going to go ahead and while we got the brown, I'm just going to base the little turd cake.
Ooh, turd cakes.
It's so funny to paint a cow patty, a little piece of poop. Like it's like soft serve shape. I want to know is if Lucas can stop by. He just contacted me through Facebook a minute or two ago, and I didn't think to ask him, but I'm wondering, like, what was his vision for the turd cake when he sculpted it? It's rare that you get to talk to the artist who is both the painter, sculptor, initial vision provider for the thing. He's the creative director for all the stuff he does. He's in a very unique driver's seat kind of position for what he creates.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to hear from him. So, Lucas, I'm calling out to the void. Lucas.
Hopefully
Lucas.
his ears are burning right now.
I want to know your thoughts on the poop cake. There you go. See if he shows up.
Papa Chicken
that's
with
the
the
power I
sub.
Hey, Gabe.
Yeah.
What does it sound like when you pop a chicken? Papa Chicken never knew he would rise to these levels of fame.
True.
And adoration.
Thank you for the 7 stream streak.
Thank you, my friend.
Oh, it wasn't a sub. It was a streak.
A streak.
But he typed a thing. He typed a thing into the streak, so it looked like a sub. And I'm just silly.
Gabe, you're silly.
Yikes.
I still want to know what you did with the disco balls. It's kind of scary to me. Like, where'd they go?
My butt.
That is not where we put disco balls, Gabe. Your mom should have taught you better.
Sounded like a duck. Was not.
Well, maybe that's what it sounds like when you pop a chicken is a duck.
It sounds like a duck. OCB Paint said, finally got a chance to try the underpainting flush technique, and oh my gosh, it is great. My question, I'm going to do
I haven't been lying to you all these years.
It's true.
Well, I mean, I have, but
He
not
hasn't,
about
he
that.
hasn't. My question, I'm going to do other skin tones. Would you recommend the initial underpainting being different tones or just the final skin layer?
In most cases, you can get away with just the final skin layer. It depends, right? I always say that the easy way to think of it is, what is the color of blood and guts on the model you're painting? If you're painting an alien with blue skin, right, then you might not be able to use the blue underpaint, right, if you're using blue, or purple for purple, or green for green. Like if you're painting an orc, the green underpaint doesn't make any difference. So what could you replace it with? You could replace it just with yellow so that you get that warmth on the forehead and fatty tissue areas, right? Or you could come up with another color to try. But in most cases, that same workup, one of the reasons why I like it so much, going with the dark purple or royal purple, burnt red, red oxide, kind of, maroon, some kind of color like that, then you can paint just about any skin on top of it. And when doing orcs, you could just use the red and the purple and forget the yellow layer, since the green skin itself would have the yellow tinge to it. So you can reduce it down to 2 colors. It's very flexible, right? The idea remains the same regardless of the colors that you use in hue or quantity. We did a couple of streams a long time ago where we just showed viewers that you could use any color combo you wanted and then filter a color over the top of it and just play and get really cool things. I was painting the hounds from my War Machine army for Grimkin. And we used the Grimkin army a long time ago as a way to show you this, where I underpainted in all sorts of crazy ways. I underpainted one in blue and then put flesh tones over the top and got a really crazy color combo. Painted another one in flesh tones and filtered like green over the top of it and got a really crazy combo. So when doing skin, there's so much you can do to play around with color for underpainting that all can have a tremendous impact and final result, but isn't always, initially visible or something that you might think you would come up with. You just kind of get to play. I'm a big proponent of using paint as a way to just experiment, to just have fun with color, play with it, try new things. We've got enough models, all of us, right? Unless you're brand new to the hobby, then you probably don't have a lot of spare models laying around yet because you're still excited about all the models you have. But at some point in time, very quickly, you will build up some spare models, that extra Space Marine that you can't use in your army, right? That box of kill team models that once you built your list, you only needed 6 instead of 9, so you've got some extras laying around. That stuff becomes crazy valuable to just play with color. Pick a model up, one that you don't care about, that, came in a set you didn't use, and blah, blah, blah. and then just start trying out new color combos, especially with things like underpainting and glazing, because those are arenas where you really do need to spend some time playing around and getting used to the possibilities and what happens with different colors, because color doesn't blend the same way when you are glazing as you might think it would if you just mix the colors together on your palette. You might take two paints and mix them on the palette and get a color you really like, and so you paint one and then glaze the other one on top of it, and it doesn't look the same. It'll be similar, but it might be more desaturated. One color might be more prevalent than the other. So just playing in those realms of underpainting, glazing over the top, and using those filtered colors is going to give you more of an idea of how colors react in general when you do that. And then that opens your mind to, oh, well then what if I did these colors together? Because you'll see me filter colors all the time that you're like, why would you do that? And then it's like, oh. Because I just have an idea of like, yeah, what I really want is something a little more orange. Yes.
So Panic Bomb Arcade.
Poop brown.
Panic Bomb Arcade is on a 265 stream streak right now.
What?
That's
Panic Bomb. Enviable position you are in.
That's nutty.
Fanatic supporter.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Hopefully not to the detriment of you or anyone around you. Is this streak continuing?
Yeah.
How many divorces have you been through?
Oh, man. Lil Billy asked, what are some color theory recommendations for making magentas and pink stand out a little more? I don't know what to mix in to make it pop on the models for my Emperor Children's Space Marines.
I think your best bet to make magentas pop is to underpaint them first. Paint with something brighter. We're going to do that on this model here, as a matter of fact, so stay tuned.
Ooh.
I'm going to use magenta all over the purples that we've created on his cloth. And that's going to allow me the ability to do exactly that, to have the magenta actually have more pop. Because the problem with magentas is that they're all less opaque. Our Pro-Acryl magenta, that just labeled magenta, is actually more opaque, but it's also lighter because it's a hue that includes white in it, so that it gives you that opacity, so it has more punch. It's also more vibrant. The dark magenta, which is actually a single pigment true magenta, is very translucent. It's almost a transparent paint, right? And so if you use it, it's not going to give you the punch, but it can. You can put the magenta, the dark magenta, over something like I'm going to use Faded Plum. I talked about this yesterday. I'm going to go back over the cloth with my texture and stuff with Faded Plum. This is my fake white, so to speak. It's my textured highlight over all the purples. But this would take it into this color, which is not what I want. I want more of a rich red-ish purple magenta leaning color. So I'll highlight with this, and then I'll put the dark magenta or the dark hot pink or whatever color I choose over the top of this, which will then give its vibrancy back to it, but also blend it with a more purpley color. So there's tricks like that. Remember, you can always use a bright underpaint to influence the darker paint you put over the top of it. It will drag more vibrancy into it, right? Because it makes it brighter by its very nature, even though it won't be as bright. So you can do a lot of really cool stuff.
We got Zaba.
Hey!
He heard you. He heard you calling for his name.
Did you hear? Lucas, were you sitting at your workstation and you just heard? Did you just hear me? See, gang? See?
Yep.
This was not planned.
Jason's got magic powers.
This was not planned. I reached out into the universe, Lucas, and I said, hey, what were your thoughts when you sculpted the poop cake? Did you have thoughts on what you're going to do? I mean, I know like on your artwork, right, you've got a more bluish skin tone on him, like that bluish black fly skin, and so then the poop cake stands out. I'm going to do like more of a black-brown fly, like a house fly, like a U.S. house fly, so that the skin stands apart from the armor a little bit. And then, so my thought was like, did you have anything other than just it's a little, chocolate ice cream? We don't live that far away. He's in the Czech Republic, by the way. That's further.
That's far.
Further than I'd like. We should be able to hang out and go to lunch.
Might be equidistant either way you go.
Yeah.
You want to go west? Take just as long as you want east.
Yeah, west and east, it's the same distance, actually. So, right? So my curiosity is always around, like, what was the artist's idea for the poop? Like, did you have a vision? Was it just going to be a brown pile of poop? Or did you think, because I think a little bit of sprinkles on it at the end. We'll do little dots of color for sprinkles on it. to separate it out. Because the problem with doing the poop in a brown of any kind is that I'll have to do it like a warmer brown. Oh, I just make it kind of. It sounds gross to talk about poop like that. I'm all for the poop jokes.
Warm brown.
But there's a time when you start associating color to poop.
Yeah.
That it makes it a little difficult to maintain
your like beets. Like you just ate some beets.
Social stamina, so to speak, runs out quickly. It's like painting all the gross bits of Nurgle models. What even is that? Is that an intestine?
Yeah. Yes.
What is that? What is protruding right there?
Zaba said, "My idea was bigger, but my friends told me no. So this character is a softcore version of something that I will do in the future."
What?
Oh man.
You said you let them get in your head like that? This is great.
That's funny.
This is where we're at. I wanted to frame in the eyes. I think we want to spend some time on the eyes today. Today? Like right now?
We're starting on the eyes?
Yeah, but there was enough overspray, and the overspray included the texture, right? So frame in the area you're about to paint. It means that I might get some paint on it or whatever. I don't care.
Cool.
I want to start looking at this from a standpoint of, okay, now what? So let's grab some of the expert acrylics.
This is the one thing Christopher told me to record. So, Jason, I'm going to tell you, can you repeat that many times today?
No.
Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and answer you now. The answer is always no.
Okay.
To anything Gabe asked today, chat, the answer is no. I want you to help me out, chat. Anytime Gabe asks a question of me, chat, I want you to help me out and preempt the no. I want you to be in chat. Okay.
No.
Okay. This is going to show where the love lies. Is the love in the producer's chair?
Yeah.
Because they press the buttons. Or is the love with the man who has given 9 years of his life, which I will have you know, is close to about 18% of my life. Do the math. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's close. Like 17, 18% of my life that I have offered up to the community to help you on your hobby journey. To find and embrace the spirit of excitement and creativity that I enjoy so much in my life. I want to share that with you. So I need you now to decide if it's that kind of love that you respect or if it's the producer chair, the guy that lies and says he didn't have disco balls on his glasses a minute ago.
I didn't.
You see? You see what he does for you, chat? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you're going to prove to me where your love lies, because anytime Gabe asks a question, I want everybody in chat to say no.
Yes.
Okay? Gotcha. Thank you. Thanks for listening. I'm going to go with some color now. We're going to grab some... I want some burnt sienna and some pyro red. How about them apples? And maybe some black. No, maybe some Payne's gray. Yeah, Payne's gray. Ooh, no. Dioxazine violet. This is what we're doing, chat. Boom. I don't know why the burnt sienna's in there, but we're going to put it on the palette anyway. Some violet, some red, some burnt sienna. That's the color I'm making. Okay? Boom. Best paints, period. Don't forget it. I always want to shake them. It's so hard. It's so hard. I think you should invest in the expert acrylics if for no other reason than if you want to be a lazy painter, these are the Express Lazy Painter paint. I don't have to shake them. I don't have to mix them up in any way. I don't have to do anything. They're just great. Boom. There you go. They actually look like little poop piles. Okay. All right, so get some water on the brush. First thing we're going to do is take a little bit of the pyro red, a little bit of the dio purple. Boom, bam, pow. A little bit more purple in there. I like them apples. Darken that up. Need more water. Make that a little less opaque, like that. And then I think we'll start that down in the shadows here. Perfect.
Move up a bit.
Perfect. Just going to block some color in. This is just going to be in the shadow area. I wanted to test and make sure I can see the texture through it, which I can. Which is awesome. These paints glaze and go on like a freaking dream. If you have ever wanted to learn glazing, are afraid of glazing, have had a hard time with your glazing, our expert acrylics will cure what ails you, because they will immediately, if not sooner, put the power of painting with a lower opacity in your hands in the best of ways. So it really is just blocking in the shape of how the shadow would start to go across the sphere of the eye. Pretty good. And then repeat. Gabe, did you decide to stop talking? Oh.
I was being nice to our
A
editors.
dutiful servant.
To our editors so that they had a good audio. But they could cut out all this audio. It's very quiet in here. I've also decided that I will no longer ask questions. I will only speak in statements or demands.
Oh, so you're going to start demanding things of me now?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Because then chat can't say no.
Oh. Chad, I want you to say no every time Gabe talks. Thanks.
No.
No. Alright. Alright. I like. He's good. Alright. Now, I can bring just more red into this if I want, but I don't know that's what I want. I really like this burgundy maroon color that I've created, but I think I'm going to grab some yellow. Just some primary yellow. All of our primaries in the expert acrylics are hues, meaning that they have a little touch of white built into them to maintain opacity so that you can mix and blend them properly. They are not on their own the best single pigment for glazing, but they work really well as mixing in with other single pigments like these, like the pyrrole and the Dio purple. They give us a way to move out of that color that we had into something brighter without just taking it to pure red, right? I don't want an orange. I don't want a red. I want something like this. Something that's almost like a blush wine color, almost, right? Again, I'm just blocking in. So the goal here is to put the color where I think I want to have these bands of, brightness and value sit on the eye, and then work it around as necessary. We'll blend later as we get brighter, but we have to glaze all this together so we maintain that texture underneath it. That's the scariest thing when painting this way, is getting my colors blocked in from my perspective, getting the colors all blocked in and being able to maintain the texture that we put on there for the eyeballs. I'm just glazing more right at that line where they meet. And that's why the expert acrylics are going to be so great for this, because I'll be able to continue to add and build up color without covering up all of the texture, right? And it'll look a little candy corn, right, at first. And we'll fix a lot of that by highlighting each one of these little hexes. That's the reality, is that I will have to go back in and paint each hex. There's no world where you can go in and do this complete glaze and not have to go back and touch the eye up with all the detailing that needs to be done. That's just an impossibility. Or you have to be about 1 billion times better than me at everything in order to pull it off. As we get to the brighter spot, I'll start doing a little bit more texturing along the line of color here so that I lose some of the banding if possible. And that's just done with sloppy brush strokes. Again, keep glazing this color down into the shadows. Get those two colors to blend together better. And then we'll work that back and forth as we need to later as well. We still have good representation of all the texture, even down into the shadows there. One of the biggest things I get asked from people is how I learned or taught myself to paint from such a sloppy base into such a good finish. And it's one of the things that I wish I could just snap my fingers and have everybody be comfortable with. Because when painting, one of the biggest things that will help you, we get a lot of questions around here, like you've noticed the last few days. How do I make my blends better? How do I get better at doing these things? And the reality is it starts from being okay with placing your color in a more messy manner to give you a foundation of how you want the color to be, and then blend those colors together after the fact is the best way that I can approach it, or to explain it to people. I wonder if I might put out a little bit of primary magenta here too. The magenta and the yellow together will give me a good basis for a reddish color. But since I'm moving into this kind of burgundy almost, and then a lighter wine kind of color, is that if I can control my red to be less fire engine red, right, and more in this realm, right, if I don't add as much magenta, I let the yellow carry it, then I wind up here, which feels really good right now. See? Almost flesh tones that we're doing, right? Then again, we'll layer this back over all the color that we just did. We don't want to overwork it because we're working very wet. I have a lot of water on the brush. So you really just want to put one layer on here and be okay with that one layer. If it doesn't cover the way you want it to, that's okay. Just put it on here. Get it as deep into those other layers as you feel like you want. And then let it dry real quick. If you keep working the area over and over again, you may tear the paint. Right? But already, ta-da, starting to get the dimension and the shine that I want. And we still have that cellular, faceted structure of the eyes showing up. That works really well. Sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something. Oh yeah, I mean, we say all the time, right? It's that age-old statement that the thing the pro has over the noob is that the pro has failed more times than the amateur has even tried, right? And that's the case. You got to be okay with failing. Your best work will come from your lack of fear in many cases. You just have to sit down and say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try this. Come back with a second coat of the same color. Now we'll see a little bit more punch to it. I'm going to keep my brush stroke going in the same direction as much as I can, so I'm not tearing paint away from that area. We're just going to carry it all the way down into the shadows. Since we're painting thin, it won't have a big effect on the darker areas. It might shift the hue a little bit, but it'll just kind of pull it all into being the same color eye. So we lose a little bit of that banding of color, like, you know, you think in terms of I always say candy corn, right? Where you can see the layers of color. Going back and glazing each color over all the previous colors can help with that. You just have to make sure that you're not influencing your color to such an extent that you lose what you were going for. You might have to then go back and, you know, glaze in the darker tone at the end if that's the case. In our case, I'm just playing with color, so it doesn't really matter. It's like we were talking about before. I'm just having fun, so what comes out of this was not an expectation. It's just a happy finding, so to speak, right? But each subsequent layer of paint helps nest all of the previous layers of paint together when glazing like this. But I want you to notice, hopefully those of you that paint quite a bit, and even those of you who don't, are noticing that with just a couple of layers of the expert acrylics, look at how much color we're getting and how much blend work we're getting on this, versus when you may have tried using our normal liquid acrylics or anybody else's liquid acrylics, and how many times you feel like you've got to go over the same area to get the effect that I'm getting here in just 2 passes of color. That's really the huge effect that our expert acrylics have. That's what sets them apart from everybody else on the planet's paint. See where I'm going? Your constant harassment of the female gender makes me sick. Also, Jake the dog. What? What is this? Who is Jake the dog? Is this something I'm supposed to know?
It's from a show on Cartoon Network called Adventure Time.
Adventure Time. Is that? No. What's the one that has the meat wad and the French fries and stuff? What is that called?
Meat wad and French fries?
Like they're a fast food, like they're like a value meal from the fast food and they all live together. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, yes.
I've never heard of that.
You've never seen this? Oh my
No.
God. You need to go Google and watch some of that.
That's
It's right up
silly.
your alley. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There's one I think
So
that's called
silly.
Meat Wad. He's literally just a meat
That's what he
wad.
said. I love meat
And
wad.
then there's fries. Meat wad, and then there's fries, and then the drink.
That's silly. I'm assuming it's in that very, like, stereotypical Cartoon Network style.
It is not for kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is not for kids. Just going to go back and keep making this color over and over and over again. A lot of water on my brush. I'm using a fairly large brush. See the kind of stages it goes through as it'll be more orange as I put more magenta in, and then it'll finally go to the reds. I kind of like that orangish red color that we're getting here. Right? Giving me that kind of fiery blend. We'll put that on there too. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That I'm liking. Meat Wad Tomaton. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Has Ghost Hunter done it, Wad?
Meat wad tomaton, huh?
Adventure Time also got some top-tier life lessons. Frylock and Master Shake. Correct. Okay. I have not watched it a lot. I don't mean to act like I'm a pro at this Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I just saw it once and was appalled. and was like, what in the absolute hell am I seeing? Right? It was fairly spectacular because it was one where one of them was trying to commit suicide in their kiddie pool outside.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, what in the world am I seeing here?
Well, speaking of kiddie pools,
welcome everyone.
We are Mighty Hobbies. We're painting eyes, bug eyes.
We're painting fly guy,
bug eyes.
Fly guy, bug eyes. I just want to get some color on them. I'm liking that. That gives us a good base. Again, just kind of going in and nesting all of our color in a good position. Our light, you can imagine, coming from like here, kind of like here is my thought process. That gives us a good reflective spot, top of this eye, kind of frontal lobe area of this one. I dig it. There's going to be a lot of work on the eyes. I kind of am not going to get into that right now. I think that's where we'll stop on that one, just to get the nice base coloring up. I think I'll go back with a little bit of the dioxazine purple, really, really thin, kind of on its own, and build in a little bit more shadow, maybe a little bit of red into it to recreate that color we did first, right? Something like that. But super dark. Then we'll pull that down. That's a real kind of blood wine looking color, right? We'll do that. I think that will test back here, and this might give us, oh yeah. That'll just kind of reinforce that shadow. So it doesn't get too muddied out from the glazing of all those colors over it. The darker areas when you're glazing can turn a little muddy. They just begin to lose any type of definition as you go through and glaze more and more bright colors on them. So this will put a little bit of coloration back in there. And I might actually want this to be more purple now that I'm looking at it. Be okay with this for this one. I'm using kind of a stippling motion here because it'll kind of bring out the facets. I'm not really trying to land paint in any of the individual facets of the eye as I go, but just stippling it will kind of bring that texture in like that. I think I'll leave it alone. I won't do the purple yet because we have so much purple in his clothes. We might come back after that with like Payne's gray later and glaze like a little bit of Payne's gray into it or something like that. I'm pretty happy with that right now. From there, the idea would be, let's just go ahead with and continue with these. I'll get a little bit of titanium white. I put the burnt umber out there and I didn't do anything with it. Or the burnt sienna and I didn't do anything with it. Oops. We can take a little bit of just the yellow that I have very little left here, and the white, and going for a little bit more opacity, no longer glazing, and we can imagine going in on these facets now and being able to kind of poke color in on them. The neat thing about this, as tedious as it is to put color into all of these little hexes, the neat thing is that they are hexes, and so it allows you very simply to create the shape you want to, because it's like putting puzzle pieces together. If you want to do a circle, you just highlight one less on each row.
Brannigan's brushes, welcome in. Rating with a party of 28.
Brannigan, what is going on, my man? Welcome, everybody.
We are painting some eyeballs, specifically bug eyeballs. Many eyeballs.
Yeah.
Bugs have like a ton.
They're just faceted. You'd have to talk to a bug guy to figure all that out.
Bug guy. Big bug
Flies only
guy.
have two eyes, but they are faceted, and I'm not sure how all of those facets work in tangent with their visual acumen to deliver a view.
I'm sure I know that there's a debate online what makes an eye, whether it's the ball itself or the
It's the
being able to
receptor
see
is
it.
what is the accepted thing, right? It's the actual visual receptor.
McBlaze, thank you for the follow. I guess I should be doing little noises, huh? Magic.
So see that yellow with the white then starts to be our highlight that will stick in the primary reflection zone first. We'll do a little bit more of that, and then we'll move on to some other parts of the model. I need more primary yellow. Right now we're using our expert acrylics. So these are the new expert acrylics that are out here. We use those to glaze the colors onto the eyeball so that we didn't lose the hex pattern that we had airbrushed. They are great for that. You get to control your opacity much better than paints that are built for opacity, like our liquid line. You use these that are built to maintain control over layering much better. And they will allow you to glaze very simply and really up your game in that arena quicker. Which for a lot of people, glazing is an absolute pain in the butt. So it doesn't have to be. Now we just highlight a million freaking facets of eyeball.
Rennigan says, still waiting for the store to sell bag acryl. Soon.
Not soon. Don't believe a thing you hear from
You
these
said it
people.
on stream, Jason. Bag acryl.
I was not even here.
I saw you here.
You did not see me here.
I don't know about you guys, but Chris and Jason showed off a lot of cool stuff that day.
That was you and Chris, by the way.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Something like that. Get us started. And then we'll just have to work the different values of brightness throughout the various facets of eyes and kind of use it as the facets set up the location of the stippling, so to speak. And so you just highlight less or more of each little facet, brighter or darker, and you can play with that back and forth. And now your texture is set on the model, and we don't have to worry about it too much after that. We don't have to go back and worry about cleaning it up too much. Although if we get crazy with our brush and get out of the lines, you might have to go back and sketch some of the line work in with like a black transparent. Something like that. But that sets it up pretty good. Polka-dock. Let's put some color on these boots. I think dark umber.
Bag of taters. Yep. Bag of acryl and bag of taters. You know, that's what the expert acrylics needed, were some bag of taters.
You people.
That when you shake,
you people.
So funny.
Things I do for the grief I get.
Grief.
This is called grief.
Grief.
Kid. Grief. You're
Oh,
griefing
no.
me. Bag of taters. I laughed out loud at that when I was listening back. I happened to just be flicking through to see what nonsense you guys had done, and the bag of acryl made me laugh. And then when I just kind of hit the fast forward button to see what chat was talking about, and it went to bag of taters, and I literally nearly spit my drink out. I was like, okay, now that's funny, because I immediately knew where that came from. I immediately knew what was going on. I immediately cursed everybody's name that was involved.
Oh man. Yeah. What do you mean? That was you on stream.
No, it wasn't.
You were just going back and watching yourself.
No, incorrect. I do not attain that level of vanity.
DC Perez 14, thank you so much for the follow. We'll give you a duck.
Wait a minute. That's a popped chicken.
No, this is a pop chicken.
That's not... I'm being gaslit, chat. High level of gaslighting going on around here today.
This is gaslighting.
See what I have to put up with, Chet?
Am I wrong?
You see what I have to put? Yes, you're way wrong. I don't know what a gaslight sounds like at all. Although I do get the joke. That was more of a heavy gas.
Heavy gas.
Instead of a light gas.
Oh, this is a heavy gas. Uh-oh. What happened?
Hopefully all your stuff stopped working.
We lost a camera.
What?
I don't know how we lost a camera.
Ack! The paint cam is out? My face cam is out?
What in the world?
What did you do, Gabe?
I didn't touch anything.
Gabe pressed a button, chat. What button did you press, Gabe? Go back to the main scene. Refresh it.
There we go. Huh? Okay, we're good.
Gabe pressed buttons. He
I
says he
push
didn't,
anything.
but he did.
I didn't push anything.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
It doesn't do it on its own, Gabe.
Nothing.
Chat, now would be a good time to tell Gabe no.
I definitely pushed a button. Now that I'm looking at it, I now understand what happened. I did push a button.
They yell at me when I call them out,
Yikes.
and then they come back and apologize when they realize I was right.
Sorry, guys. Punishment for the gas. Exactly. Little Tootie over here.
We are a professional stream.
Yep.
We've been doing this longer than nearly anybody else, and this is the quality you should come to know and expect. Just gonna throw that out there.
Man, Chris is gonna watch this back and
he's gonna cringe.
He's
probably
flog
watching
me.
right now, and
I
he just had a
know.
heart attack. So your story about Chris not coming back may actually be true.
I know. Because of how simple of a problem it was, and because I just haven't been around enough to know exactly what the easy fix was. It was a very easy fix. But I'm sure if Chris heard me say, "We lost a camera," he would not be having a good time. But we're good. We're good, Chris. If you're hearing it right now, we're fine. Unless he put it down immediately and jumped in his car. Which
Oh, he's on the way here.
So
Is he back tomorrow?
Yes. He's back tomorrow.
Chat.
Did I ever tell you?
Do you realize how fun tomorrow is going to be for me?
Whoa.
As I get to listen to all the hate spew
Whoa.
forth. I'm kind of like I don't know about the over under on, and chat, maybe you can help me here. What do we think the over under is, the spread, so to speak, on Chris Shaw? Can you punch in one?
Yeah.
On Chris coming back and having nothing but great things to say about Gabe's performance, or having nothing but critical things?
It's gonna be critical.
And it's Chris critical.
It's gonna be critical.
So Chris critical is like that. I mean, Gabe's an okay guy. I wish he knew what he was doing, but Gabe's okay.
Oh,
That's
what
Chris.
Chris
That was my
is
Chris interpretation. That
That was
wasn't
your
how
Chris
I think about you, Gabe.
so I have a new soundboard sound I'd like to add. That's all right.
What is it?
I'll play it for you. You're gonna love it.
Here in a little bit.
It's your favorite thing. You're gonna love it.
If you play the freaking Living Spaces theme song, I will kill you.
What if it's Christopher singing it?
It will kill you. All of it will end
What do you
with
think,
Gabe's
chat?
death.
I've got 3 of them.
3 lives?
I've got three recordings
No,
that he sent me
don't you dare.
days ago.
Chat, you've heard me tell him.
No, everyone's saying no.
This is not
All right.
even poke the bear
All right.
territory.
Fjord said no. Thor said no. All right.
Chat, proving
Chat,
your love.
Chat is on your side, except for Xenobond, who just sang it.
What?
Yeah.
I will kill Xenobond.
Did I tell you the story of how we
Is
pranked?
threatening murder to your viewers against terms of service?
Maybe. I think so. Yeah.
Is
You can be
threatening to kill
half-naked,
your
but-
viewers breach of terms of service? Can Twitch or YouTube get mad? I am asking hypothetically for a friend.
Yeah. I need everyone tomorrow to give me all the free pub. That's what I need. For tomorrow,
Gabe is great.
For
He
everybody.
gave us chocolate cake.
Yeah.
You did not give us chocolate cake, by the way.
I could, though.
Which made you go down in the polls.
I could go down in the polls. Or I could bring you chocolate cake. See, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make it so that you just wish that I was back on stream.
That we wish you were back?
Yeah.
What would ever make us do that?
You'll see.
Oh, jeez.
Don't do it, Gabe, unless you want to see Chris get fired. Well, did I tell you about how he pranked Christopher?
I am highlighting
with
a piece of poop.
Oh.
One of the rare times you get to do that. Because normally when I talk about things on a model being a piece of poop, it is not a pleasant thing. It's not because we're painting a piece of poop. It's because the sculptor made is beautiful sculpt, very poopy.
Very poopy.
This sculpt is poopy for all the right reasons. The beautiful Lucas Zaba making Mr. Fly Guy, Lord Bzz, holding a poop cake. It's like a nice little poop cake. And we still don't know. Is he hoarding it to himself or offering it as a gesture?
Zaba says ice cream.
Zaba.
Chocolate ice cream.
It's poop. So is he holding it for himself? Did he just visit the buffet table and say, mine? Or is he about to offer it
to a fellow?
To a fellow.
Yeah. Or is he
a friend?
Is he courting a lady?
An accomplice? Fly? Is he courting Lady Bzz?
Yeah.
Zaba said, okay, it's poop.
It's poop.
It takes 24 hours for the firing paperwork to go through, so Chris will get hit. Wait, that's not how it works around here. Tadpole, yeah, only serial killers carry ice cream around in their hand. Poop, on the other hand. He recaptured it from a would-be thief. There was a poop thief?
The stink thief.
That's why that's why this attracted Lord Booz's attention.
Yes.
Right? Is because a thief who is willing to sacrifice all that is holy to steal another man's poop must be dealt with swiftly and with decisive action. Right?
Yep. He just wanted some poop, man.
Only serial killers carry poop around in their hand too? You spelled that wrong.
I just imagined somebody sitting on their couch eating a bowl of cereal.
Tadpole's like, he's like, did I though?
Eating a pile of poop.
Like who pooped in your cornflakes?
Yeah.
Like you're a serial killer? Like I see you enjoying your cornflakes. Here, have some poop.
If your poop comes out that smooth, I want to know what your diet is.
That's literally like soft serve grade.
Yeah, I need that. Sounds like a swift bathroom break right there.
Some good soft serve right there.
Yeah. He's dating a dung beetle.
He's dating a dung beetle?
Yeah. That's why he's got all the poop. Dung beetles want the poop. He's giving the poop.
The dung beetle's going to want a lot more than that. I think the correct suitor for the dung beetle is going to be find his way a little paved pretty easy if Lord Bzz only brings that much poop to the party.
It's a gesture.
It's a gesture?
Yeah.
What kind of gesture brings poop?
One for a dung beetle.
I do not pretend to know anything of the abstracts of social structure of flies. Lord flies. Lord of the flies. I'm only here with the barest of knowledge on this subject. Right? Take a little bit of the dark umber, a little bit of the light umber. Back to basing with the normal Procryl. I've been asked a lot when people are thinking about the expert acrylics, where would I introduce them into my process? And for me, the easiest way to tell you is to continue with your basing, where you need the opacity of the normal Procryl. And then as you start to layer, and especially when you start to glaze, start working the expert acrylics into your technique. they are flawless in their execution of things that might have given you problems in the past.
Zob asked, are you going to paint the poop with small corn on top of brown muffin?
I think I'm going to do sprinkles, but I was really wanting the artist's input, that being you, as to what was the intent of the poop.
They could be vegetable sprinkles.
Is this something... Well, I want to know the etiquette of poop to flies, is what I'm really asking, in the artist's mind. Like, is the poop, like, is this an hors d'oeuvre at a fancy get-together? Or is he about to, like, throw it through somebody's window because it's an offense? Like, I need to know more about fly etiquette and the observance of poop within that social structure. Because if this is something that might have been an hors d'oeuvre or something that he might have gone and gotten for his significant other, then I put sprinkles on it, right? Like cupcake sprinkles on it, right? If, on the other hand, this is something that Lord Bzz would throw through a window of his worst enemy, then of course I don't want to spend a lot of effort putting sprinkles, because no self-respecting individual, fly or otherwise, spends time decorating the poop they throw through windows.
Northwax, I was thinking the same thing. That don't flies lay eggs in their poop? Or in poop?
Well, that's why he could be bringing it to his lady.
Could be food, or he's holding his child. That's in the poop.
This is also true. I don't know if I want to put sprinkles on that, if that's the case. This is why I'm asking these very, very important questions. We have the rare ability to ask the artist. So I'm asking the artist.
About poop, they always said bzz, 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 bzz. So I think it's up to you, mate.
Oh man, that is shirking responsibility right there. I want you to know that I will remember this. In my darkest hour when I needed the most help, you hung me out to dry.
Mage, thank you for the follow. We appreciate it. I'll give you a different noise. And nice.
The bell?
The bell.
That's the doom bell.
Is it the doom bell?
That's the doom bell.
What is that supposed to mean?
Well, it's doom for whoever you just rang it for. They probably are not happy they came here now.
I don't like that. Why did we call that the doom bell?
Well, it just turned into that because Lucas didn't answer my question properly.
Oh.
So it's Lucas's fault.
Speaking of eating poop, welcome back, Chris. What Little Billy says.
Dang, Little Billy.
Yeah, Little Billy says he's not here, but it'd be funnier if he was. Yeah, I like that. Sarcastic Grandpa said, Jason, remember this is your model. You paint it however you want.
Hey, I don't need that right now.
Little Billy says, no brakes on the hate train, baby.
No brakes on the hate train. You love
I like that.
Chris.
Can we change the train whistle? It's the hate train.
It has to play like the intro to a really heavy metal song now.
Yeah.
It has to have like the Mastodon intro come in or something.
So for when Chris is here, it's the get back on track train, and for me, it's the hate train.
Oh, damn, dude.
Right?
I don't know if you have this power. I don't know if I'm comfortable with this whole scenario.
You left these here, so.
Also true.
Put an official label on it. It's the hate train whistle now. That's right.
I'm still dealing with the fact that I now have to determine what fly etiquette with poop is. It's getting sprinkles. That's what it's getting. I'm putting sprinkles on the poop as if it were a poop cake.
I like it.
Like a Little Debbie's poop cake. You can imagine it comes in a wrapper like the zebra cakes, except it's a poop cake, right? It has sprinkles. This particular one has like pink sprinkles on it.
Pink sprinkles.
Pink, white, and green.
Are you
Remind me of that, because that would be great.
pink, white, green. Chat, remind me of that.
Juicy Jimmy's, yes, except not what I needed to hear is juicy and poop cake.
Pink,
all in the
white,
same
and
sentence.
green? See what?
Yeah, his assistant go to the Trinity Cupcake Bakery. Exactly. Who did he? What's happening?
Now I want to go get some trendy cupcakes in the shape of poop and bring them in.
Tadpole says, also, aren't we in the ocean? No. Panic Bomb has it. We are the ocean. And by we, I mean we the people.
By we, I mean chat.
I mean chat. Yes. Panic Bomb listens, somewhat.
Zaba, have fun. Thanks for hanging out.
Lucas, thanks for hanging out. Thank you so much. We're getting closer on him. Now I need, ta-da, Light Umber on its own. This is how you make 2 colors into 3, folks. Dark Umber, Light Umber mixed together as number 2. After talking about poop cakes, I just said number 2. And then Light Umber by itself. And this is where we'll start doing the texture for the leather.
Yeah, Michael, once he's done putting all the leather color in, I'm sure he'll paint those buckles too.
Yeah.
Jason wouldn't let those go unpainted.
What buckles? There's buckles?
There's buckles.
What?
Yep, 1, 2, buckle my shoe.
No way.
3, 4, hold my poo.
Not how that goes, Gabe.
It is now.
You don't make those rules.
I just did.
Who gave this guy this power?
Christopher.
I don't think that was his intention, Gabe.
No, but we can all put him down for it.
Damn.
Yeah. Blame Chris.
Chris, I've never needed you as much as I need you now.
Blame Chris. I gotta go out with a bang. Fjord says no.
I've never needed you like I need you now, Christopher.
Pikmin Horror asked, what purple is that on the pants?
It is dark purple and royal purple so far. And then I will be, if we have some time today, I'll get to more of it. I'm going to do these boots, and then maybe we move back to the purple.
My goodness, it's 3:09.
What?
Wow.
Not possible.
No, that's what it feels like when you being over here on producing, and I'm sure it feels like this for you every day, Jason, when Christopher says what time it is. It's like when your alarm goes off and you set your alarm early. Like, let's say you set an alarm at
And
like
it is
6 a.m.
not time yet.
It's not time yet, but you're like, oh man, I've got 45 more minutes of sleep. That's
and then it goes
great.
off immediately, and it's 45 minutes is gone?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what that feels like.
100%.
Awful. Happened to me this morning. Very sad.
100 million %. Again, this is just pure light umber. A little bit of water on the brush, but you don't need to have as much as when layering this. In order to maintain your textures, you want to make sure that each brush stroke kind of hits with enough opacity to have the texture register and not have to go back and do it again. I'm doing just quick horizontal brush strokes along the cylinder of the leg to look as, you know, the way that the leather would collapse and bend as you're walking. Generally goes laterally across the leg like that.
When you're doing that texture, are you using the tippest tip of your brush, or using like the top side?
Pretty much the tip. But I'm pressing, it depends, right? I'll adjust the pressure on the brush, but it's pretty much just the tip.
Okay.
When doing fine texture like this, like line texture, you want to use the tip of the brush. Then as you need to thicken it up, if you've got a big area like down the trunk of the leg like that, then I'll just press harder. So then it's using like the side of the tip.
Okay.
And then I'll feather out those edges with the tip so that I get that detailing of, you know, finer lines. Again, all depends on the size of brush you're using. The smaller brush you're using, then you may press harder to get the same thickness of line. Can you pop in closer?
Yeah.
This color isn't severely brighter, but you can start to see the texture build up there, right? See?
Yeah.
And so it's putting batches of color on, and you'll notice that then feathering the edges of those batches of color to give it that finger-like texture that creates the idea that the leather is starting to wear.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you go brighter and brighter, you just again sneak that color inside of those areas and create as much texture as you want. You could stop with something like what I'm doing right now, right? Like here, I don't have enough coming up the boot, so I'll just we have the block of color, and then you'll just use quick wispy lines to give that finger-like texture coming out of the block of color is the idea. Like that. And then if you get used to painting this way, you can add so much dimension to your models because texture is everything when defining material. How do you make wool look different than cotton on a painting? Right? It's all about the texture that you give it with the brush. Right? Maybe you stipple one and just layer the other. Or maybe you crosshatch one if it's like, blue jeans versus just painting the pants with, a layered color. It's up to you. But texture can guide the eye and the brain into finding material that the sculpt may not even define for you. Like we can assume these boots are leather, right? Because it's the vibe of the model that the boot is going to be leather. But that doesn't mean that you can't create something totally different. If you wanted to make these heavy wool boots, you could do that. You could do a stippling texture to all of this rather than what I'm doing here with the line work.
One of the things that I find hard with leather is wanting to show highlights for use, like it's being worn, but then also how do I incorporate highlights for light as well?
Well, I'm always painting with the light highlight in first regard. So I'm always moving my brighter colors towards the light. That's just the way you have to paint. As you do that, start working your texture in and it solves itself. Make sense?
Yeah.
Your texture is going to be the most visible where the light is. So just keep working your textured brush strokes towards that light source. And then, I'm leaving like darkness in between there.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to do a whole lot. And then the next color is really the most important one because it starts defining both of those even better. Because we'll go to, in this case, we'll just use like olive flesh mixed in with the light umber. That's just my standard workup because then we're going to do transparent brown over this.
Oh, nice.
It's weird because my monitor has chunks of paint on it. So sometimes I'll set the model down and it'll scare the ever-loving hell out of me because there is right now a chunk of like some light-colored paint right where his foot is. And I'm like, I didn't do that. And I look down, it's not there. I look up, it's there. It's not. It is, and it is. Then that's why I'll go like this every now and then.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
to make sure. Yeah.
Okay. That's how my brain works in the background. There's gnurs on my monitor over here.
Panic Ball wants you to give him Crocs.
Paint dots on them? No. Could I? Yes. Will I? No.
I'd love to see that.
I don't care what you would love to see. Sorry.
Wow.
This is coming from a grown-ass man who wears leather Crocs, by the way. He has some. I've seen them.
My leather Crocs?
Yes.
They're not Crocs.
They might as well be.
No.
Same difference.
They're Birkin.
Here we go. Birkin clogs.
Birkin clogs.
Yeah, they're Crocs. They're leather Crocs. Okay, so there's the mix. Olive flesh, light umber. Gives us a really great in-between color. And same thing, we just kind of want to Gabe's point, go in and block out, okay, where would my light highlight be? Well, it would be along this side of the leg if my light's coming from this side, which we said it was. So I will go and sneak into the light umber area a thinner line of highlight. It runs down the foot, like so. Okay. That gives me my highlight on the boot in a rough sense. And then the same way we did before, we'll just kind of feather out these little fingers out of that center color. It can either go right over the ones that you did before, if you're comfortable with nesting them in like that, or can be haphazard and right alongside them do their own without a care in the world to where you put your other textures. Here I'll try to follow along the same shape of texture that I had before, so that it feels cohesive. And we also, at scale, you lose the spot to put too many lines. They all start getting covered up, and then you don't see any of them. Same thing on the cylinder of the foot. As we move towards the front, we'll just kind of take that blended color right in along the toe, extend it out a little bit as we reach the spherical end of the foot. And now we've got our highlight baked in. You're doing this with a fairly thin paint, but again, it's kind of that in between, I guess. You're not glazing with it, but you want it to flow off the brush really nicely so you can get nice thin lines.
I think this is a really good example of what you're talking about yesterday of wanting to paint brighter than you want it, so that once you knock it down with a transparent.
Oh yeah, when we put the filter on it, it will knock it down because the transparent brown is going to darken all of this up. And this isn't even as bright as we'll be going. We'll go brighter than this.
Brighter? I hardly know her.
Chat. It's my life, chat. The way it goes sometimes.
He chose his life. Could have escaped it. He told me no.
It told you no about what?
He told me no. He said, "No, Gabe. You're not going to come work here."
Oh, you talking about that long ago?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I didn't know I had that option.
You're right. I came in here and I said, "Jason, you're giving me a job," and you said, "Okay." And that's how easy it is, folks.
That's about right. That's about how that happened. He held me at gunpoint. He said, "Listen, this is my dream job.
Yep.
I want to be here. I don't care what you think. I'm going to do wonders, and you're going to like it."
Yep.
And I was
Here
like,
we are.
"All right, put the gun down."
Put the gun down.
Put the gun down, Gabe.
It's true. True story. Ghost Hunter said no.
Yeah, as he should have.
No.
He hasn't lost sight of the goal.
Yeah. Held you at gunpoint, so you're going to hire me and the rest of my family. Technically, Shelby was hired here first.
Yeah, one of the other ones was already here.
So
one of the other fishers was already here.
She was already just getting her way in.
Go back and add some other texture to the toe, where you can imagine he's banging into stuff, scuffing it up.
Apple says, "I miss Shelby's zany energy."
He still has it.
She's got that zany energy for sure. Now that she has Alex too, the both of them are
Jesus,
wild. You ever have the?
She's made BFFs out of one of the other hires who is in our creative team with Gabe.
Yep.
And they are hell on wheels. The two of them.
If you had
They're always like, this weekend we went and did the thing. And
if you had the privilege of meeting the both of them at Adepticon, they were running the till, and they were having a good time. Lots of giggles. What does Gabe even do at Monument other than talk crap about Chris? That's it. That's my job. That's my dream job.
He didn't let us finish the whole story of him walking in with a gun, right? He basically held a gun to my head, and he said, "Listen, what you need is this guy named Chris, and I need to be able to make sure that somebody keeps him in check by talking crap about him all the time."
Yep.
And I was like, "Well, we don't have anybody named Chris here." He said, "Oh, I'm not done yet."
Oh, you will.
He's like, "I'm not done yet." And then he said, "What you're going to do next is you're going to hire this guy, And Chris Mac Sushi. And I said, I know him. That's how I met you. He films our commercials. He says, oh, he's going to do more than that. As he shoved the gun further in my face.
It sounds like a good audiobook.
And I'm just supposed to deal with it. So there you go.
True.
This is the life that I supposedly chose, according to Gabe, because he doesn't want to get arrested for coercion.
He did choose it.
Is that he makes it my
That's
idea.
what the contract says.
No. As I go into shadow here, just, feather those out and then don't get the heel, right? So we have a little bit of that texture showing as it goes underneath. Remember that because we still have a brighter color to go with, you still want to be creating some texture even in these midtones. Otherwise, if you just do it with the bright colors, it doesn't survive very well into the final composition. You've got to constantly be thinking in terms of doing the texture from maybe not your base coat, because your base coat wants to just be good coverage. But you need to be doing it fairly quickly as you go up through your darker midtones. Start adding the texture in there like we did with the light umber, dark umber mix.
Right, Pikmin, it is a full-time job.
Hey, don't you egg him on.
What's the final highlight going to be on this?
The olive flesh.
Just straight up olive flesh?
Straight up olive flesh.
I like
It's
it.
next, Gabe.
I like it.
This is just my standard everything brown workup when I plan to use transparent brown as the final color tie-in.
Just dark umber, light umber,
Olive flesh.
olive flesh.
Yeah. And this depends on the model as to how much or little mixing I do, right? You've seen me do a lot of models where I don't do any mixing of those colors. I literally just do dark umber, light umber, olive flesh. And then you'll have me with times where I will do what we're doing here, and we'll mix in between each color too, to where we basically have 5 colors out of those 3 as opposed to just the 3. That's just up to you. How much space do you have on the model? How much time are you trying to invest in the model? All those questions start being the relevant ones. Sometimes pulling lines towards me gives me a little bit more consistency of thinness, sometimes pushing a line. So one of the things you have to do with your brush control is figure out where your hand and dexterity like to be to get particular types of lines on the surface. Like I said, sometimes it's pulling like now, and sometimes it's pulling like this, like directly towards me. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, those scratches on the toe of the boot look really, really nice.
Yeah, and they'll really won't even come alive until the next color, right?
Yeah.
Like some of these will become, like they may seem fairly prominent right now, like on the shadow side of the boot, but once we put the brighter color on there, they tend to disappear, right? The idea, again, being that you want your texture to go through all of your values of color so that no matter where you land, you still have that faint, scratchy texture in the shadows. Because if you don't start your texture early in your values, like from your base coat, if you paint like we do, we paint from dark to bright. So when I say early, I mean your shadow coats. If you do your base coat, you don't need texture on that because you're going for coverage. Your next coat, you start putting the texture on. Your next coat, you put texture. You keep the texture going through all those colors. Then as you move to the highlight, like you were saying, you don't miss it as you move the model around. It doesn't go to the dark side and feel like a totally different material.
Yeah.
It's still, you have to look close, but those are those nuances that grab the eye that you're like, oh, wow, this has even got scratches in there. You know, it's like on the armor, right, where you'll do the dings and nicks and you carry them off into everywhere, even like under the arm, but you may not go as bright in these areas with the scratches as you do out here, right? But it makes certain that it doesn't feel like the only area that has texture is the most lit area, because it would also have it everywhere else, assuming that, you know, it's a standard material. All right, now it's just olive flesh. a lot of times you'll see me can you pull up just the palette?
Yeah.
A lot of times what I'm doing that we don't discuss enough is that, I've got light umber, olive flesh, and I've been mixing them in between. So I pull a little bit of olive flesh over into the light umber first. I pull dark umber into the light umber over here. I had light umber by itself, then light umber into the olive flesh, and then olive flesh by itself. But what I'll do with the olive flesh is I'll pull it down into this mix on my palette. And so it might darken it up a little like that, but it's not actually mixing more paint in. I'm just using what I just mixed as the basis to pull the paint into. So it might give me a little bit of transit color, but it's not like an intentional mix, I would say. Right, and this is where you're really going overboard on your value. You're going brighter than you ever want this to be right now, so that you can really make sure that when you put the brown filter of transparent brown in our case over the top of this, that it will survive. This texture will really pick up the way we want it to. You want to pop in close?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. But the same thing, right? I've already nested where my colors go. I've got this vertical kind of highlight. So I just want to sit right inside that. So I'll take these wispy brush strokes, just using the tip of the brush, and kind of very quickly go right down the middle of that cylinder we've created, only spreading it out at the top of an area or along an edge, so to speak. And then again, come and grab little tails or fingers out into the textures that I've already created. And this is the patience part, because you need to make sure that your lines get thinner as they get brighter, so that all the other colors make it blend into the area around it. Make sense? Got a stitch in the back of the boot, which is why I'm doing these little textures here where the pinch of the stitch would kind of cause it to have a dimension along the back edge. And then on any of these lines, you just pick, like, is the highlight going to be towards the top of the line or the bottom of the line? Since it's the top of a foot and the bottom of the foot wraps around into shadow, we'll put the brightest of our highlights along the top. We've got the texture, but we don't want to do it along the side. That makes it look like a shiny material. We want to put it kind of up here, right along this length of the foot.
And Osborne says, "Hot damn, buddy, this is looking better every day. Love it."
Thank you, man.
Alberto says, "How about a golden poop with diamonds?"
Non-metallic metal, gold poop.
Shiny poop. Golden turd with sprinkles. It'd really be a gift.
I can add, like, at the end of some of our lines here, we can kind of stipple them out into the rest of the boot to increase that kind of marred leather texturing. If you just do lines, it can get a little boring. You can come in here and kind of like we did on the armor, make it to where, you know, hardened leather will actually crease and have the same type of abrasive or abrasion qualities as metal sometimes. And the fact that the scratches, where the scratches cross over one another, they'll have brighter spots. Right? So it's up to you how you take your texture to the next level, but it's all going to get nestled down. So I really only do this type of stuff with the brightest color.
You know how we have a white blue and then like our bright pale yellow as are very close to white, and those two in the warm and the cold. Would you say the olive flesh is kind of our white brown in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, olive flesh is kind of the end fake white highlight that I use to bring big value to more natural earthy tones, even greens. You'll catch me using it. Because things like faded green, bright pale green, maybe those are too green still. So you can use something like olive flesh, even though it's definitely an earthy brown tone.
Yeah.
Right. It still can do wonders for you in those regards. Won't do a whole lot more on the inside of the foot. I think you can see how the light umber survives down there and keeps the texture going. This just keeps the highlight on the outside.
Man, I'm so excited for this transparent brown layer.
Yeah, because the thing here is this is kind of how we would paint if we wanted this to feel like non-metallic metal. This is the same kind of bump in vibrancy or in value, really, that we do when we're painting non-metallics. This is that kind of jump you need to do to create a shine. And we're not trying to create shine. We're trying to ensure that the brightest of our texture survives the filter of brown. Because I want the brown to be kind of an orangish brown on this, but rather than painting it through orange brown, this allows me to create my values and all my texture. I can really focus on the sketchiness and kind of rapid fire nature of doing textured leather. I can be more freeform if I paint like this, rather than just jumping in and trying to worry about the color and the blends right now too. The transparent brown will handle all of that. You'll understand in just a second. What time is it? We gonna have enough time? I think so.
It is 3:33.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of time. Look at me.
Yeah, you're cruising.
Madman fast today.
Cruising. Did so much today.
Really, it's only the toe of this foot that might, I mean, his belly prevents his toe from even seeing much light, but we'll go ahead and do it here just for style points, because we don't want to have it be completely barren of texture and value down here.
Can't believe it's already Tuesday.
Wait a minute. That feels bad, man. It's only Tuesday?
Already Tuesday. It's already the end of Tuesday. That's crazy.
Gabe and I have a 4 o'clock meeting.
We do. We'll probably need to bounce a couple minutes earlier. And then you guys will have to deal with Chris again.
Tomorrow.
I know.
So fun.
Tomorrow.
It's going to be so fun.
I don't know. I don't know if fun is the right word.
Gabe, it's going to be so fun.
I don't know if Christopher has that funness to him, you know? Yeah, you're right, little Billy. No.
Boo. Boo-is.
Boo. Label that whistle ASAP.
The doom whistle.
A doom whistle.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Little Billy, it's okay. You don't need to joke with it. You need to cover it up. Say that you love everyone at Mime and Hobbies. We all know that
You have favorites.
you've got some favorites, and Christopher's at the bottom of that list.
Christopher's at the top. He's one of those that's like trying to hide it, but You can't hide that kind of love and affection.
It's true.
It's showing through. All right, there we go. Booyah.
That's when it's time to hit the doom bell when talking of ending stream. Xenobot said he's definitely on a list.
Alrighty.
Funny.
Brown transparent, folks. One of my favorite ways to do leather, wood, all that kind of stuff is paint it like this. Get your values set way higher than you need them. And then blend them back while altering the hue as well with something like transparent brown. Now, you could use any paint for this, right? We could actually, we could use one of like the burnt sienna, from the. As a matter of fact, let's think about this. Let's maybe we do some nickel azo yellow.
Oh,
maybe.
Oh, fancy.
Maybe we change it up a notch.
So instead of using transparent brown, using the azo yellow since it is transparent.
Yeah, maybe since we've been talking about the expert acrylics, maybe we do that.
Ooh.
The nickel azo and maybe a little bit of our burnt sienna that we didn't use. If I can still get any of that to work. Oh yeah, perfect. That may be too orange. No, I think I like that. I think that's going to look really good over the brown. Let's try it. Right? You can always use a side you don't care about.
I believe that, little Billy. Deep down inside, Chris and I are just the same person on different ends of the screen.
Is that how this goes now?
I can see that. Little Billy, I hope one of these days you can come do a show and I can see you and Chris interact in RL. I think it'd be funny. I think it'd be a fun time.
I don't want to have that on my conscience. The aftermath.
Things
the
will be thrown. People
the
might die.
Bath. I've seen Chris. I've seen his anger, his angst. He's going to take it out on a little bit. He walk through the door. Everything will be all nice and happy until he got him into an area nobody could see. Right.
Brittany says, nice boots.
Boots.
Some boots.
The boots.
Are you liking this color?
Yeah. I think it works really well with the brown. You'll notice that, whenever you're doing this, it's way more intense as you apply. And then as it cures, you start to see more and more of its interaction with the base. And I think that looks really, really good.
Dan, this is a mix of the new nickel azo yellow and burnt sienna.
Burnt sienna, nickel azo yellow.
The expert acrylics.
Again, you can use any color you want. You have to think in terms of, okay, how's this going to look over the brown? Because the color on the palette is very yellowy orange, right? Because we're using a sienna and the nickel azo yellow, which the nickel azo yellow is kind of a greenish yellow, almost like a greenish yellow ochre color. And so it on its own would interact with the brown really well, but would be a little pale, I think. So I wanted the sienna in it to give it a little bit more of that orange. And I think that's working great with the brown undertones. If we put this over, something that was brighter, you get a totally different effect, right? That's the whole point in filtering. And like we mentioned earlier in the stream, you have to be paying attention to how the color you're glazing is going to react to the base layers you're glazing over, because it's not always going to look the same. It's what's so powerful about the transparent paints is that you can use them over different substrates, different armor colors and all that. And transparent blue looks, a particular way, and works a particular way when you put it over other blues versus when you put it over black and such. Right? That I really like. Solid flesh still shows through. get all the coloring we wanted out of that. And you can, as it, you'll see that it dries pretty quick. And so then you can go back over it again if you want. A little bit more color to it. Warm it up a little bit more. Give it more of that kind of slightly dyed buckskin kind of feel as opposed to, a dark brown. And make sure you take your color into the shadows all the time. Even though it won't have as much of an effect as a bright color on the shadows, it still does move that hue a little bit and keeps it in touch with the brighter spots so it doesn't look like you forgot something or that there's something really weird going on. I like that a lot.
Nice. Brittany says, how much for a whole kit of every color you guys got? With some side-eye.
$8 million. That way I only have to sell one. So I don't want to make it seem like we're taking advantage of you. It's just that we're taking advantage of you so that we can, for all the right reasons, so that we can take like a permanent hiatus, right?
Right.
So for $8 million, we'll send you one of everything. I mean, hell, I'll even send you my car.
Brittany said, dang, I only have $7 million.
We can make a deal. Call me. Like, hey, Billy, have you ever dreamed of owning a hobby company? I would not sell the company, by the way. Very much good. Want to pop in close on that?
Yeah.
So you can see with a couple coats of the glaze.
Nice.
We keep all our texture. We let all of our brush strokes show through, but now it's blended it all together. Look at that. That's the great thing about topical filters is that they tend to blend your underlayers so that you get really, really good cohesion with all of that while still maintaining, in this case, the texture. The little dots and doots and scritches that we put everywhere come shining through perfectly. We didn't lose any of that. Right? And you get a really good blend back of all of those colors and ready to go. Now you could highlight over the top of this with more, but I like it the way it turned out. I think the expert acrylics do such a great job of glazing that even the intensity of the highlight there that we did with the olive flesh just shows through perfectly. I don't think I'd even go back and change any of that right now.
That looks great.
So that, I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that if you're doing wood and leather and things of that nature. It just is, it's too simple.
That looks great.
Too simple.
Northex said, over under on Jason pulling a Willy Wonka tour to find the heir to his paint factory.
Jen and I talked about like that as a golden ticket. Since we don't have any kids, these people like Gabe and the other people that are building the company with us are the inheritors of this company at some point. So we're working on ways to do that. One of our goals is to become one of the largest employee-owned hobby companies on the planet. And so we are really investing back in our people, but it's been fun along the way to think about, like, oh, what if, you could visit and, we take you on a tour where we kill half of the people. And then the last one gets the factory. How great would that be?
Oh man. Michael asked, can you
I don't know how they died.
Yeah.
Dr. Slugworth.
That's funny.
We need a Mr. Slugworth.
We do. That's Chris. Can you summarize the colors? Michael asked.
Which ones?
Boots, maybe?
The whole model or just the boots? Flapsack. That was kind of the shtick. The world's largest employee-owned hobby company. Since there aren't any, technically with two people. Well, I guess there are, right? If you're only two people who started the business, we've been employee-owned forever. Chris is 100% Slugworth, little Billy. In an unfortunate glazing incident, local visitors to Monument Hobbies turned into recycling paste. Boots, I'm going to say. Michael Holt says, book A. I'm going to say that's boots. You're on your phone or something. So it was very simple. The boots were started with dark umber, then light umber, right? Dark umber, light umber, olive flesh. Bang. That's how I did all of the highlighting and texturing. We started with the dark umber base. Over the dark umber base, we then mixed together the light umber, dark umber 50-50 to give you a kind of a, obviously a blend between the two. And then kept adding a little bit of texture with that. Then the light umber by itself. Then the light umber 50-50 with the olive flesh. And then finally the olive flesh by itself. and that gave you a color that was obviously very, dull neutral browns, right? That's going to be, this is a good color for some things. You can do leather in that and just leave it alone. I like to do it like that and then add some color back into it, because leather generally gets colored by the oils and the touching and the environment and the dirt and all of that. Leather absorbs color from the environment in a natural sense. So I don't ever like just browns. I like to do other things, and transparent brown is normally my go-to. Because we've been using all the expert acrylics today, I did a nickel azo yellow, right, with the burnt sienna. So I just had them on the palette. You want to pop in on the palette?
Yeah.
I just had the nickel azo yellow pile and the burnt sienna pile. I pulled a little bit of burnt sienna over there and pulled it down into a glaze with a lot of water on my number 5 brush, and then just went over the boots, right? You go back to the boots, and then we just glaze that over in 2 layers, and you get a really, really great coloration that lets you alter the browns, but the browns are still feeding the color into the boots. They still are that brown first, and the glaze of the nickel azo and the burnt sienna over the top just gives them that kind of oil-worn environmental feeling. This would not have been the color of the leather. This is his fly hands grabbing them and pulling them on his leg every day, right? It's the dirt and dust of the road that are on them, right? So you get that brown is still the major influencer, and the glaze just stays there. But all of my highlighting stayed true. It gives it a lot of depth. It makes things look like you spent a whole hell of a lot more time on them than you really did. So it's a great way to paint. It allows me to focus in on my texturing, like I said, my brushwork to get the lines right the way I want them, build up value, and have the base hue locked in. That brown that I know I want the leather to start from is locked in, but it's really focusing on my textures and my value for highlights and shading. And then you can glaze whatever you want to over it. You could have glazed like a red mix over the top and had them look like ox blood, because it still starts from brown. Especially when you think in terms, it's always good to know kind of in a worldly sense how a material is actually made. You don't have to know everything, right? But realize that all leather starts from being brown, right? Because you can have like cowhide that has like black and white hair on it still, but if you take all the hair off and you tan the hide is now brownish, right? And there's a world of browns that it comes in, but then they dye it. But whatever dye they put in, sometimes they bleach the hide and then they put the dye on so you can get blue that is blue, right? But in the case of this guy in this ancient scenario of, Lord Bzz and his fly and his little poop cake, it's going to be brown. And so that's why I leave it brown as a base, and then I'll glaze anything you want to over it. Greens, reds, more yellows, other browns to shift the hue like we did here. I think it's great. Will the expert acrylics be better for dry brushing since they have less moisture? You can definitely dry brush with them. Realize that the intensity of these paints is so much that you might get more coloration than you want on your dry brush line. I like our liquids better for dry brushing, but you can definitely dry brush with them. They don't season the brush as well is one of the things, because they aren't a liquid, right? So when you get paint on the brush, you're only literally getting paint on the tip of the brush because it doesn't soak up into the brush. You could get the brush wet, dip it into the expert acrylics, but now you've basically just turned it into a liquid acrylic. So the answer is yes, just test an area first. Because when we talk about seasoning a dry brush, as we go through, we did it with the Marine when we dry brushed him, the liquid acrylics will draw up into the bristles. So you'll have this much paint, to this level here. So that when you then wipe it off on the paper towel, you're removing the paint from these upper levels. You still have paint deep inside the brush. And then when you start dry brushing, you're getting that paint to draw out to the face of the brush. So that liquid paint really is what makes sense when dry brushing in most cases, because of the way it interacts with the bristles of the brush. When you go with an expert acrylic, it's literally going to sit on the tip of the bristles. And then when you wipe it off on a paper towel or your dry brush texture palette or whatever, you're going to take all the paint away. Not going to be a lot left. But try it. Right? Like I said, a little bit of moisture on the brush goes a long way to turning any paint into the right paint to dry brush with. But if your paint is already really liquid, then you typically don't do that. The more pasty it is, like our expert acrylics, then a little bit more moisture on the brush goes a long way. So, Penny Bomb says they look lived in but not overly worn. Yeah, because everything that we're doing for him is not beat up tremendously. He's got some scritches on his chest plate. We haven't finished the purple. We got to do all the highlights on the purple and the cloth. So I'm starting with everything looking like it's just well worn, but not beat up. And so I think that's the thing that I wanted on the boots. And we'll do the same thing. We'll add texturing to the cloth with the highlights, because we still are going to go to more of a magenta color on the purple of the cloth. And then we still have to highlight. If you pop in close, you'll notice that there's a physical texture to this. See how it has the bunching of the fabric goes horizontal across each of these columns. So we're going to highlight all that and bring out that texture. We haven't done it on the yellow or on the purple. So as we do that, it'll give it a little bit more of a textured feel because the sculpt calls for it. Right, the sculpt has got like I can imagine this is kind of a heavy cloth, but the way the cloth has been made, it's just been bunched. It's been, as it's sewn together, it's all kind of tight and bunched up. So it has a really neat texture to it just out on the base, which is really, really cool. He seems like quite a high-ranking individual. Those boots don't touch the ground much. I mean, he's carrying poop. So I also feel like he's a fly. And I feel like Lord handles his business.
I feel like he's a fly.
I feel like Lord handles his business.
Yep, and he handles it by putting it in his hand.
Yeah. Oh. Hang on, I gotta drop the kids off in my palm.
Yeah.
like that's why I wanted Lucas to answer that. Did he go over to a buffet for this, or was he like, "Excuse me for a sec"?
Yeah.
He's like, "Here, my dear."
Yes.
Poop jokes. Told you.
Yeah.
The warning's on the door. It is a family show, but now your family knows poop jokes more.
Yeah. More poop jokes.
Yeah, Brittany's like, it's the food of his people. Oh, that's perfect, Brittany. Yeah, I'm gonna paint it in kind of like the color you have there in the emoji with sprinkles on it. I told Gabe today we'll do pink, white, and green sprinkles.
Yep.
Right.
Will be like, what a great dad. Here's your food, children. Let me go make dinner.
I don't think flies mess with their own poop. They have the grace to at least go to like the cow patty, right?
I mean, do you know that?
They use other people's poop.
They could use their own poop.
So. This is a great miniature. I'm having an absolute blast with it. Obviously, we still have to. We base the skin in the black brown today because I'm going to do like a standard, American housefly style where I feel like it has a brown base, and then we'll go into kind of a bluish black as we move towards the highlights, but the brown will be the underpinning. But we'll use some blue black on there and some black probably, or some dark grays to move up into the kind of hair. It's interesting because I always think of flies as being hairy. As fuzzy, and yet he's slick. So I'm going to do some texturing on there to give it like some fly hair, like almost like human hair would be on your arm, but we'll do it because I can't do fly hair because it's all like individual little pointy hairs. They would have to be sculpted to do it right. It's not hair like we have. It's hair for feeling. So they're like spider hairs off the leg. And since they're not sculpted, we can't really do that. He does have a little like pompadour kind of thing going on top of his head.
Little Billy, have a great night. Or morning, depending on where you're at. Probably
See you, Little Billy. Yeah, Lucas's minis are all fantastic. Like I said, especially the anthropomorphic, like animal ones, right? We've got the little mouse, and we've got one of the mushroom wizard we have. So I'll be painting quite a few of these. He's now teasing me with stuff he's working on.
Oh man.
So our relationship has turned into that, and I'm very angry. Because he goes, this is our secret, and he shows me something. I don't even want to look at the picture most of the time because I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be like, how long does it have to be a secret?
Yeah. How long till I can get one?
Get down with the super glue and finishing line? What? What are you talking about?
Fishing line.
Fishing line? Oh, to make the hair on him. You were insane.
Yep.
Not doing it.
Good.
Not doing it.
Why not?
Just not doing it. If Jeff Goldblum had turned into this guy, Gina Davis would still be with him, right? He's cute. He's cute. I mean, I go out to dinner.
Yeah, looks like he's got a good kisser right there.
Can you imagine? It's like a proboscis. It would be like
just a dark hole. It's like the end of a vacuum.
You'd be
hose.
Yeah. Not into it. Not into it.
Then he clean his face.
But for a nice steak dinner. Sounds like karma. What? The poop guy? What are you talking about? That's not how karma works. All right, everybody.
It's 3:56, but we gotta
cut it out a little bit early because we have a meeting at 4. We have a visitor coming to the site that Gabe and I have to meet with, so we're cutting out just a tad early. But thank you so much. We did a lot today. We got the base for the eyes started, so you can see how I'm going to be doing the eyes. We glaze the eyes with the Expert acrylics. Again, fantastic for glazing because they give you the ability to keep that texture if you want to pop in one more. right? It gives us the ability to keep that honeycomb texture that we airbrushed on there really good. And now you can see where I'm starting to go in and actually punch highlights into the little hex facets on the eye to give it some sheen. So we'll continue to work that because it has to go all the way down through here, right? That's the hard part about all this, is that the shine has to go on all of these. So that'll be a lot of fun, but it will happen quicker than you think, and then it maintains that feel that we're going for, and I'm really happy with how that's going. Again, the expert acrylics are just fantastic for glazing. They didn't cover up any of the pattern. They blended all the colors together really well, and they give us a great head start to where now all the rest of the quote-unquote blending will be done by the fact that I will go through and highlight each of these little facets.
Yep.
And the highlight covers up where the colors don't blend well and gives us what we need and makes it look more, I think, realistic in the case of these types of iridescent eyes and such.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun there. And then, of course, we did the boots and did 2 coats of paint on the poop cake.
Poop cake.
And then we did the boots, the leather boots. So
yeah,
hopefully you can take some of what I showed you on those leather boots. That's a great technique that I use on so much of what we paint. It's just a great way to do cloth and of any color. Get a base coat, a mid-tone, and a highlight. Blend in between each of those colors, turn 3 into 5, and then glaze a color over the top. It could be when you see me do it when we do black cloth or black armor. We use black and dark gray, or black and neutral gray and bright neutral gray. It looks totally horrible, and then you glaze black back over the top of it, and you're like, oh my God, right? So it's just a great process for when you want to get a color that has highlight and texture to it, but isn't a shiny, reflective surface. So it still lets you paint the same way you would if you were painting bright colors, because I painted that the same way we painted the metallic armor. And then we just glazed it down to where you lost all the extreme brightness that was on the boots so that it looks like its own material. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you're new here, if you came in on one of the raids, please hit the follow button if you're over on Twitch, or the subscribe button if you're watching us over on YouTube. We'd love to have you back. We stream here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time from our lovely Monument HQ here in Phoenix, Arizona. Check out the monumenthobbies.com link that Gabe put up in the chat there, where you can check out all of our products. We think the next time you've got the opportunity to fill out some of your hobby holes, you'd really enjoy trying some Monument Hobbies products.
Yeah.
We make the best stuff out there, so don't go amiss and give them a shot. Check out all of the links to the FLGS, where you can find a local store closer to your area of the world that carries Monument Hobbies. Please support your local gaming stores. They do all the hard work and give you a place to hang out, play, make friends, and be sociable in this wonderful hobby of ours. And then, of course, check out our Discord, where you can continue that social nature. And as Ghost Hunter says, you can hang out with 5,746 people on the Discord crying out as one. No, Gabe. Punctuation is critical.
No Gabe.
No, Gabe.
No Gabe.
No, Gabe. But there is Gabe.
No Gabe.
So
On there.
I don't know how to treat this, but thanks so much. Northrax, thanks you so much. Thanks for joining us. Stick around. Gabe's going to find us somebody to raid, show some love in the chat we wind up in, and spend the evening with some more great hobby goodness. And we will catch you back here tomorrow. Adios, gang.
Bye.